Good morning to our attendees and to our guest speaker. We're very happy that you're here with us this morning. Thank you for the time that you are going to spend with us. Um, my job today is to introduce our guest speaker. Um, I was surprised this morning when I found out that she's a fellow Aklanon like me. Like, you know what they say, small world. It really is a small world. Our speaker today is from California. Um, she is an author. She wrote the book The Balance Concept in Healing and Nursing, which elucidates the balance theory. Ma'am Daisy is a UP graduate, and we admire so much these women from UP because I have a sister that also graduated in UP, and when we were young in the Philippines, being in UP is like something we look up to because it's really an excellent university to get into, and not everybody gets in there. But anyway, um, she has been a leader of the community in here in the United States in North California, and she has been president of different organizations, the Philippine Nurses Association of North California, the UP Nursing Alumni Association, and in 2009 she received the reward as the most influential women in North America in from the for a Filipina to receive that award. It's not it's a very how would I say that, like, inspiring and really admirable thing to get that reward. That award is not given to anyone unless you really have done something to change your community. So we are gonna be listening to an amazing person, one that is a good role model for Filipinas here abroad and in the Philippines, and someone that we are really proud of. Um, I'm gonna introduce to you Miss Daisy Magalit Rodriguez.
Hello, everyone. Can you see me? Yeah. Okay. I guess this won't really, I won't be able to get any feedback from this, but good morning. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Rodora, my kababayan, which who I just found out this morning, and I was so glad. It was your introduction was so kind. I mean, I just feel so honored by it. But actually, I know that there are so many of us women who have achieved a certain level of excellence in this country. So, I mean, just receiving those honors is probably, I'm one of the many. So, and I hope that the audience here today would be able to, that I could impart some glean some knowledge from what I have learned when I wrote that book, The Balance Concept in Health and Nursing. I had researched it, and I discovered it's just an amazing thing for me to find out the depth of what balance is. And by the way, for women here, Happy International Women's Month. This is our month, ladies. And we are a group of women, group of people who deserve credit for what we had contributed to this world. We should be proud. And myself, as a woman who has strived throughout my life to own a place in the sun, to find balance in my life, in my many roles as a mother, as a wife, as an author, a professional, organizational leader, I am really privileged to be among you today. And I'm going to share some insights with you, which I hope that you will be able to take home with you and maybe implement it in your life. Um, when we talk about balance, and balance is such a common word, common topic that we almost do not need any definition of it, because we know intuitively, we know already, we had encountered that word many, many times in our lives. But I would like to break it down into several sections so that we could cover the topic within the 30 minutes that we are allowed. First, I am going to share with you my PowerPoint. And also, I would like to request that if you have any questions, uh, please reserve it for towards the end. And okay, hang on a minute. I'm not very tech savvy, so I will. Okay, that's actually just the an icon of a balance, because I think that's the one that we are most familiar with, the weighing scale. Um, if you tip the balance on one side versus the other, you will create an imbalance. That's really basically the concept of what balance is. So I would like for us to talk about, understanding balance. Next is we're going to talk about how balance really affects women's lives, and the uniqueness of women, as women are so unique, and the role of the environment and culture that affects the balance in women's lives. And then finally, I would like to offer some strategies to how we can create some balance in our lives. I am not a total expert on balance, but I have some advice um, to my audience here. Uh, just a minute. Let me backtrack just a bit. Okay. All right. So in order to understand balance, I think we really have to first know what are the evidences of balance. When you really look around you, what are the evidences of balance? But there are numerous evidences that balance in its many forms actually exist everywhere. It is a universal concept. It it exists everywhere in our world as human beings, and it's also in within the context of the sciences, in the physical and psychological health, in our environment, in our culture, and many, many areas of endeavor. So it is a universal concept. um, I would like to speak of balance in terms of the five elements of balance, because these are what I had discovered in my research. So um, balance, I had discovered, is really essential to our survival. Without balance, we cannot survive as human beings, whether we're men or women or anybody else. We need all these five elements in order for us to survive. If we don't have, if any of these, absence of any of these would cause us to go into imbalance. Or ultimately, if those don't exist in our lives, we can ultimately die. We will not survive. So the five elements of balance that I'm talking about are the elements of adaptation, equilibrium, homeostasis, needs, and health. Those concepts are really in my book. But so when you talk about balance, you also think that there is an imbalance, because this world is full of dualism. There's always the opposite of something. In order for you to appreciate one concept, the opposite, uh, it has to have the opposite in order for you to understand the whole range of that, like dark and lightness, and light, happiness, grief, whatever. These are two opposing forces, which could be either positive or negative, that affects us in our daily lives. Then there is the let me talk about first what are the five elements. The five elements: adaptation, is the process that all living creatures modify themselves over time or change their behavior to take advantage of the environment. and ensure their survival. Even from the at the primal level, the animals also have to adapt to their environment and to the changes around them. Equilibrium, it is a stable condition in which two forces cancel each other to achieve a point of stability in the middle. So, the middle is the point of stability. Homeostasis is our internal mechanism within our body to regulate the equilibrium of the body's internal environment to maintain stability and balance. We have an automatic regulating system inside us so that we can achieve balance and we can survive. Needs, everybody has needs. They are something that are essential or required. Um, and health, we understand health. It is a dynamic state of physical, mental, and social well being, according to the World Health Organization. Health represents the person's effective response to imbalances. And these elements work in tandem with each other in order for us to have a healthy survival. Um, let's see. Balance is actually, um, let me go to the next slide. Oops, sorry. um, Behavior, we have to understand that behavior is really the linchpin. It is the key that gives rise to balance. Without behavior, without us eating, without us breathing air, without us um, engaging in other kinds of activities, and I call them balance seeking behavior. Without actively seeking those, we are not going to achieve that level of balance. And actually, I had devised a behavior pyramid, which you will see here. I patterned it after Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I think we all understand that. But I changed into it and a behavior pyramid, and in different realms of behavior, and these are um, reflexive at the very bottom, which is really physiologically based. The next level, as we advance, as we mature, is the emotional and spiritual, which includes our love, family relationships, even spirituality. The next level, as we develop more as individuals, is the emotional and spiritual. No, excuse me, the intellectual and rational. We seek intellectual abilities and skills, and we seek higher education, um, or even our inventions are part of this intellectual rational realm. And finally, at the very top of it is the realm of self fulfillment. This is where wholeness, harmony, wellness, and personal worth are achieved. And this is where we want to be in our lives. Okay, I want to talk about how unique we are as women, because today we are talking about how women, celebrating women, how we inspire change. As women, we are unique from men in many ways. Our physical structure, our hormones, our emotional responses, roles and expectations from society, our ability to deal with stresses in our lives, our physical nature itself is different, because we are made for childbearing. We have wombs, we have breasts, we have reproductive organs and hormones that are different from men. We comprise half of the world population. So you see how much power we have. And generally, according to statistics, we live a little bit longer than men. So, and without the woman's capacity for childbearing, this whole world population will probably gradually disappear because there won't be any more children born. Although, on the other hand, we are not endowed with a lot of muscles in our body, um, but we can still develop that. Um, but the good thing for us is that we are born with maternal instincts that makes us nurturers and protectors of our young. As we can see, women play a very important role in this society. But then we ask ourselves, why have women been relegated to a lesser position in the course of history? I want to answer that maybe with the next slide. What are the things that had been brought upon us so that we became kind of the lesser as viewed by men, people in society. So environment and culture had all contributed to what we are and where we are today. Culture, the environment actually is composed of an internal and an external environment. Internal environment are composed of everything inside our physical bodies, our organs, our chemicals, body fluids, etc. External environment is anything outside of the body, which includes um, our the family. Climate change affects us, community, society, technology, and even those institutions, organizations that we built in order for us to achieve a desire for a more fulfilling life. But the environment also includes threats to survival, as you can see with COVID-19, that decimated over 6 million people already worldwide, and according to the Johns Hopkins data. So we are affected by so many, and not just us, also our male counterpart are just as affected. Culture is one other aspect that really that that affects us. Um, Culture is an aspect of the external environment that developed over a long period of time. They're composed of a set of values, our practices, our attitudes, and they're passed on from one generation to the next. And it really defines our roles in our society, the expectations of us as women. And since the beginning of modern times, and even before that, women had really been placed as a disadvantage because oftentimes how we are viewed by the opposite sex. We are members of the weaker sex. And over history, we had been marginalized, victimized, brutalized, or minimized in the workplace. Women had been subjected to the glass ceiling, deprived of opportunities for advancement, and paid less than men. So, why is that? And immigrant women in particular had been also affected. They had been placed as a disadvantage. A lot of us, probably in the audience, are immigrant women, and so am I. I immigrated from the Philippines, and so did Rodora. Um, and so we had been victims of racism, also violence in the workplace, discrimination. It seems that cultural diversity has become a weapon against women instead of being our strength. Okay, so stressors. We all understand what stress is. It could be positive stress that we call eustress. It could be negative stress, which is distress. But stressors um, creates a certain negative reaction in our body, and it's defined as a non-specific response of the body to any demand or change. Stressors are the one that causes us stress. And as women, as we face so many demands in our everyday lives and the many roles that we play, we are subject to a lot of stresses. And stressors in the environment and culture create imbalances in women's lives. So, what are the parts within our culture that really, what are the things in our culture that really affects us? What are those stressors? These are our social role expectations. We have our role. We carry many different roles all at once, as a mother, as a wife, income earner, community leader. But those are culture dependent. Those are institutional. There are institutional stresses also, job related, discrimination, inequality, racism, violence, and all those things could happen in the workplace, in the institutions where we work. And then there's also the physical environment stresses. Right now, we have been subjected to a lot of stressors from COVID-19, and with the number of people who had died, a number of people uh, who actually whose families had been affected. Those create stresses in our lives. Natural disasters, wars, just the women that are affected in the conflict in Ukraine. I can imagine what those women are going through. So the effects of stresses on us, it could be physical, emotional, and mental. Um, our physical, it could generate a fight or flight mechanism reaction, which is a physiologic reaction that releases stress hormones that really affects our heart rate, our blood pressure, blood sugar, and that's probably why a lot of us are affected. We have conditions that because of the stresses that we are facing. And there's the emotional stress. um, Stress response could be the alteration in our mood, feeling of loss of self-control. We feel a lot of anger, feeling of insecurity, but also it produces physical symptoms like eating disorders, or sleep problems, headaches, muscle tension. And then there's the mental, also imbalance that are caused by stress. And we hear so much about the imbalance in mental health, not just women, but also men. People in general are affected by all the stressors that we perceive as threats to our own to our own person. So how do we do this? Okay, I'm going to offer some strategies for balancing our life, but it's based on my five elements of balance of adaptation, equilibrium, homeostasis, needs, and health. Um, what How I'm going to present this is just a bunch of questions. What it is a self-examination. What Because how you balance yourself really begins with you. So let's go to the first strategy. So adaptation. How do you adapt to everything that's thrust upon you as a woman? We need to recognize what are sources of stress and find a ways to adapt to it or avoid it if you can. You have to really manage your stress. But before you manage it, you have to recognize what are those things that are affected you that you consider stresses in your workplace or at home. But then also you have to balance that what gives you a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. That those are the things that we can, those are healthy coping mechanisms that are amenable to adaptation. Yeah, there are a lot of changes that are happening in this world. Technology is just happening so fast, and I could even barely adapt to it, even to manage this, you know, uh, the technology, the Zoom meetings that I had to go to. I mean, it was a learning curve for me. But then, how can you capitalize on your strengths and you manage burnout in your job? Okay, equilibrium. How can you maintain your balance? Equilibrium is that place of stability, of wellness. Um, but how can you maintain that I put myself on timer. The things that give you a sense of satisfaction, mental balance. How do you engage in positive and satisfying activities, such as social relationships, hobbies, travel, volunteerism, that could also give you that sense of satisfaction and stability? Homeostasis is self awareness. You need to listen to your body because it has the internal regulating mechanism that will give you signals if something is off balance. Monitor your body's responses to stress, and our needs. Everybody has needs, so I think we recognize what those are, the different levels of needs that we need to meet in order for us to stay balanced. And ultimately, health is very important in the Chinese philosophy. Health is balance, essential to our well-being. So ask yourself, what is your state of health right now? Are you in a state of balance in all aspects of your health, your physical, emotional, mental health? And are you staying safe amid the COVID pandemic? Because all of this will go away uh, if someone dies from the pandemic. Okay, I will end my presentation here. That to say that all of us women have the capacity and the power to create balance in our lives and inspire change by starting with ourselves. We have the power to do that, and there's only one thing that is that we can do is take a look at yourself, look at the mirror, because if we are going to achieve balance, to achieve financial security, to build our resilience, we present ourselves with confidence, find our place at the table. We have to look at ourselves and really evaluate what we have and what the power that we have in us. So let's celebrate women on this International Women's Month. And thank you. And I'm willing to answer some questions if you have any. And these are my references. Actually, these are the books that I wrote. And yeah, the last one is about an approach to organizational leadership, and a book where I co-wrote a chapter. So uh, that's it.
Hi, Miss Daisy. Yes, we do have some questions from our audience po. From Maria Perez, is it possible for a woman to completely balance her personal, family, and career life?
I will answer that. There's really no such thing as complete balance. You can just strive to be, at a place of stability, a place of harmony, a place where you could find a sense that you are the self-fulfilled. Um, you can do that if you engage in some balance seeking behavior. Start with your physical health, start with your mental health, emotional health. Of course, my source of self-fulfillment is really my grandchildren. You can find it anywhere, and whatever it is that inspires you, whatever it is that creates that positive feeling in you, you yourself can define where you are in that continuum of balance or imbalance. Does that answer your question?
I'm on mute. Ma'am
Oh, there
Daisy,
you go.
here's a question. How can a woman outgrow society's norms against women?
How can a woman outgrow society's what?
Norms
Norms
against women?
against women? it will take a long time. We have come this far. And I think we will need to continue doing what we're doing now, like today, to affect change. Because it's only with, what we do to really empower ourselves so that we do away with all these preconceptions of women being the weaker sex. We are not. We are strong. We have raised children. We have created, um, in our community we are leaders. So I think to get to the point where we will be treated equally with the men, it will take a lot of hard work. But it starts with us individually, all, and also as a group. We need to group together and demonstrate what we can do, So, like I said, it will take time because how we got here took a long time, it's been a long time, that we had been treated unequally. So we need to get out from this mode. Okay. Another question? I can't hear you, Rodora.
Um, when can we say that we were able to create balance in our lives?
What can we say that we are
When?
able?
When
Oh,
can we say that
when?
we were
Okay.
able to create balance in our lives?
Okay. It is all in you, like I said. If it is the feeling, the feeling that you have created balance, but you also have to look at your internal signals, what's happening in your body. Are you balanced inside and outside? Inside, there are internal monitoring systems that will tell you. Like, say, if your electrolytes are out of whack, you will feel something. That means it's time for you to go see your physician. If you have, imbalance, you have some fears. So I think you have to recognize what those fears are, because those create imbalance, a mental imbalance, you know. So, and you have to look at your external environment. What are the things that are affecting you externally? Do you get affected by all this bad news, about COVID? All those things are within our culture, actually, that are affecting us. I watch CNN all the time, and I get affected by what's happening on the other side of the world. It makes me feel anxious, and it makes me feel sad about what's happening with the people on the other side of the world. So I think you really have to temper your whatever it is that's causing your imbalance with balance seeking behavior. It's the balance seeking behavior that will bring you to a sense of harmony, of wholeness, of
Stability.
yes, stability. Okay.
There's another question.
Yes.
They say, how can a woman affect positive change to the society?
How? I love that. How can we are doing it already right now, right this minute. We are doing positive change, and the only way that we can do is to demonstrate out there, because remember, behavior is what you know behavior is something that you could observe, you can measure, you can describe. So without doing anything, all right, you're just sitting in your rocking chair and not doing anything. Are you creating positive change? You ask yourself. Or if you're going out there and doing something for yourself, like even for yourself, like if you look at what your needs are. If I want to go back to school, I did go back to school. I mean, I took a second master's degree because I felt that I really need to learn more. It's a yearning for learning that drove me to take another, I mean, another master's degree. And right now I'm also taking some PhD courses in organizational leadership. So it's just yearning for learning. So that's what I identified in myself. That's a need for me. So look at yourself, okay, and effect that positive change.
I'm gonna answer Nicole also, Mom Daisy. And
Yes.
you know, if you remember what Mother Teresa said, that if you want to make a positive change in the world, go home and love your family. It always starts in the household. And
Yes.
the kids that we raise, you don't have to go big and change a whole community. You can start your little community, which is your kids and your husband, your family, and it starts from there. But also, as women, as mothers, our nurturing spirit, that's more than enough by making a positive change in the world. So don't don't think that you're not doing enough. You're doing more than enough in making a positive change by being a mom, being a wife, because we're naturally caring, we're naturally nurturing. Everything that we do is care and love. That itself is the positive change that you do. You don't notice it, but you do it every day with everyone around you. So you're good, Nicole. You're good.
Thank you for that, Rodora. It is, yeah, that's really, it's what at the core of us women, that it starts with us, because as we raise children, and even if we don't have children, as we raise children, we mold them into something that we hope in the future they will become um, productive citizens of the world. And I am so proud of my children because I think they have reached a level, especially my daughter, who's now, such a, um, she is a community advocate and a professor. So I'm so proud of, but I did not create all that. I just created that environment and the caring that I did when I was raising my children. And now I'm helping raise my grandchildren. So, yes, that is the core role that we have.
There's
Anything
a
else?
question, Mom Daisy. As a
Mhm.
mother, how can you promote life balance to your children?
As a mother, of course, you start when you give birth to them, and this develops over time. Your relationship with your children is always an evolving, process. But what I've done as I've raised them with the love of the motherland. Um, my daughter is so fiercely pro Filipino because I've raised them to love where I came from. The Numancia, the town, the town
Oh,
where I grew up. Uh, I, I brought them there, and they have seen where I came from. So as a mother, you develop that kind of constant relationship with your children, and of course, you're not the only one who's raising them. It's the whole community. A person is really a product of of the whole community. We are affected by what we see, what we hear in our environment, what we learn.
it takes a village.
It takes a village, to raise a child. So we have to remember that important role that we also have to connect with our community.
I'm gonna answer
Really?
Maria and Nicole at the same time also, and this is my own opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Maria, as a mother, how can you promote life balance to your children? We try to be perfect. I know we have our career and we want to do good in our career and we're ambitious. I'll be honest, we're ambitious, but Also, when we get home, we try to start cleaning. We want to give a perfect life to our kids at the expense of like breaking ourselves. And we know that we need to teach our kids that not everything can be perfect as we want it. They need to understand and they need to see that, if they see you overstressed because you're trying to compensate for everything, you're trying to achieve everything, then it's not a healthy upbringing. And that's my opinion. It's all right for the kids to see that the laundry is not done, that the sink is not clean. It's okay for them to see that because that's real life. And
Thank you. Yeah,
yes,
it's really, yeah, because we have many, many roles in our lives. And yes, we are not perfect individuals, and no, nobody is perfect. But I think we strive for perfection as much as we can. But also don't forget that we have to maintain that self, that balance within yourself in order for you to share that same attitude, that same um, perspective that you have, that will also be an influence to your children.
yes. And Nicole, I don't know if you've read about this, but here in the US, they say that a person making um, six digits, so let's say 200, 300,000 a year, and a person making 80,000 a year, they almost have the same quality of life. Once you get to that point that you can pay for things and you can take some vacations here and there, I know that the young generation today are very, very ambitious. I know that, and they give so much to their career. It's also very important for our kids to see us being ambitious and striving to be better and striving for excellence. It's important for them because that's going to be the role model growing up. But also, you also hear people say YOLO, you only have one life, like life is short, you only live once. And those are also true. So for you to decide what you're gonna prioritize, your personal life and your physical health. I don't know what it is, if it's Filipinas or it's women in general, but we always put our health last, right, Mom Daisy? You
Yes,
think?
it,
Yeah.
it it's cultural, really,
Yeah.
because we parents put ourselves last, the priority role with the children. But eventually, when they leave the nest, you have to turn your attention to yourself, like I am now. I've been retired, but because I've always wanted to write a book, and I was able to do that after I retired, because that is one of the things that I want to check off my bucket list.
You
And
made it
maybe write
happen.
another book, so I checked off my bucket list. You can make your own bucket list if you want. Yeah, you want to travel, you
Mhm.
want to do whatever that gives you that personal satisfaction. So I would say I'm a point time in my life where I feel that I reach that part. I mean, not completely. Of course, there's always some elements there that could put you in imbalance, like diseases and what's happening in this world. But when you get to the point where you feel that you have done what you could to reach that point of self satisfaction, point of achievement. Um, so I think you will know. But if there's still some needs that you want to meet, that, and if you can do it, without compromising your own, physical health, mental health, and your own relationships with your family, just go ahead. Yeah, because I went through that stage where I really wanted, I was putting more priority on my academic, need. I wanted to go to school. So I had to balance it between working, going to school, taking care of my children.
You're a superwoman, Mom Daisy.
I
You're a
cannot,
superwoman.
Dora, I can't say that. I mean, thank you for saying
You
that, but
are.
the, you know, it you have to recognize where you have to put the limit, you know, where you have to reorganize your priorities. Because
And
if you,
also,
yeah, yeah, go.
and also make sure that you don't forget yourself, because
Exactly.
we tend to
Self-care.
sacrifice too much. We give too much, we sacrifice too much, we fix too much.
Yes.
But don't forget yourself, because at the end of
Yes.
the day, when you're already in your twilight age and you
Yes.
remember, like, oh, I wanted to do this, oh, I was dreaming of doing this, but you did not do it because you have to sacrifice everything for your family, then it's gonna be sad. So yes, do the best you can for them, but don't forget yourself. You
That's
matter
right.
also. You also
Yeah.
matter.
Ultimately, it's really, you have to look at yourself, like I said, look at the mirror and what it is that you need more of. It's something that you have not done, and if you can do it, just go ahead and do it. If that's going to make you happy, whatever it is that you need to do, it's all, the power is within you. So I really thank the people who had posted the questions, because those are the things that we really would tell me that something is kind of, starting to make sense. The message is starting to come across. But I have to say that there's really no, um, there's really no one answer to achieving balance. There is there is no magic formula for creating balance in your life. But there are certain ways that you can do it. It does not come to you. It does not come to you on a silver platter, because um, you have to take it. You have to actualize it, so that you can find the balance that you want. It's all something that you define within yourselves, and not by others. You don't live by the expectations of others. For me, I live with my own expectations, and that, if I stress myself doing that, then it is my own making. And then I will recognize that if I do too much of one thing, that it would be bad for me. That would be a negative factor. So I'll have to look at what's really the positive and negative factors in my life. And ultimately, like I said, you have the magic formula to do this
And prioritize.
and prioritize. Yes.